What's up, everyone? So, let me tell you about the worst vacation I ever booked. You know how those Airbnb listings go? Rustic charm, cozy hideaway, perfectly secluded. That last one? It should have been my first red flag. It didn't mean private. It meant abandoned by God. It was supposed to be a weekend trip, just me and my girlfriend, Sarah. We wanted to escape the city noise, clear our heads, so we drove about 4 hours outside of Phoenix, Arizona, deep into the high desert. The listing promised a 1950s mining cabin with unparalleled views. What it didn't mention was the 3 miles of unpaved, tire-shredding dirt road required to reach it. When we finally rolled up, the sun was sinking fast. The heat had lifted and the desert air hit us. Dry, clean, but so incredibly silent. The cabin itself was, well, exactly what it was advertised as. Old, dark wood, small windows, and surrounded by nothing but thorny brush and mountains that looked like sleeping giants. The seclusion was real, like really real. The nearest sign of civilization, a faint, blinking red light on a radio tower maybe 20 miles away. That was it. Inside, the place was minimal. 2 cots, a small propane stove, and a single lantern hanging from a beam. No cell service, obviously. The host's instructions were written on a single piece of paper taped to the door. Lantern is mandatory after sunset. Do not venture outside past 10 p.m. Enjoy the silence. We laughed it off. Just a quirky host trying to keep up the rustic vibe, right? We cracked open a couple of beers and watched the desert night consume the light. That's when I first felt it. The weight of the silence. It wasn't peaceful. It was oppressive. It felt like the land itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Around midnight, we were winding down. Sarah had already fallen asleep. I was reading by the dim, hissing light of the lantern. And then I heard it. The first sound that shouldn't have existed. A faint scraping noise, very low, like something dragging a large, rough sack across the gravel. It wasn't close, but it was directional, coming from the west side facing the desolate mountains. I paused my reading. Silence. I told myself it was just the house settling or a coyote dragging some poor rabbit. But then the sound got louder, closer, and it changed. It wasn't scraping anymore. It was shuffling, a slow, heavy, rhythmic thump, drag. Thump, drag. It sounded like something huge moving on 2 legs, but struggling, and it was definitely heading straight toward the cabin. I slowly put the book down. I didn't want to wake Sarah yet. I crept over to the only window facing that side of the desert. It was small, dusty, and completely black outside. I pressed my face to the glass, trying to see past the reflection of the lantern. The shuffling stopped. Complete silence again. Even the crickets were gone. It was a vacuum of sound. I waited there for what felt like 10 minutes. My heart was hammering in my chest so loudly I was sure it would wake her. I started to think I imagined it. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe the desert was playing tricks on me. Oh my God. It was right there. One single knock on the wall. Not an angry knock, but a deliberate, testing one. Like it was checking if the room was occupied. I stumbled backward, knocking over a metal bucket. The crash awoke Sarah instantly. "What was that?" she whispered. "Something's outside," I said quietly. "Something big." She grabbed the flashlight from the cot, her hands trembling. "Maybe it's a coyote?" No, it sounded like a man, shuffling.
Before I could stop her, she pointed the flashlight toward the door, and that's when we heard it again. But this time, it wasn't at the door. It was on the roof. Thump, slide, thump. It moved slowly across the metal right above our heads. The thin roof groaned under its weight. We could hear the sound of claws or maybe even fingers scraping the rusted metal. Then the smell hit us. A thick, rotting stench mixed with something metallic like ozone. Sarah covered her mouth, trying not to scream. I froze, the flashlight beam shaking in my hand, pointing uselessly at the ceiling. Then the thing stopped. It was right above the lantern, the only source of light. And then it tried to speak. It wasn't words. It was a deep, guttural sound, like a voice box that hadn't been used in years. It was trying to imitate human speech. It was struggling to form one word. Who's? That was it. We didn't need to see it. We didn't need to know what it wanted. The listing said perfectly secluded. We realized why. That thing wasn't bothered by the silence. It was drawn to it. We grabbed the car keys, ignored the lantern, and broke the single-pane window with a chair. We climbed out, not caring about the cuts, and dove straight into the truck. I floored it. In the rearview mirror, all I saw was the single, dim lantern flickering violently, and the silhouette of something huge crouched on the roof, watching us leave. We drove until the sun came up, and we never slowed down. We never looked up the Airbnb host again. We didn't need to leave a review. So, if you're ever looking for a getaway, and you see a listing that promises silence, a place where nothing else can bother you, just remember this. Sometimes, when a place is listed as perfectly secluded, it's because it's already occupied. And the silence? That's just how they listen for you.